Welcome to Talking Down the Highway, a Beach Boys podcast presented by Strange Currencies Music. I'm Matt.
I'm Glenn.
I'm Tim. Or Jim, I forget.
Yeah. How you guys doing?
Pretty good.
Yeah, I urinated.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Sloop John P over there.
I
like
peed.
it.
I peed once in the last week, and it felt great.
Good.
Nice.
I'm glad you were able to take care of that little issue.
Well, I'm doing great.
Oh, well, we didn't ask.
Well, I know.
No one cares.
I was doing great until you didn't ask me how I was doing. No, I just found out I got a little bit of influx of cash maybe coming my way.
Hey.
I deny everything.
What are you gonna do with said cash?
Well, I want to go to the record store.
Oh, okay.
I've had to buy a bunch of really
Oh yeah.
not good records lately. Because I'm working on a catalog crawl right now for Bob Dylan.
Ooh.
And
There's a lot of not really good stuff there.
well, I mean, the 80s are rough.
Okay.
The religious era is rough.
Oh yeah.
But I think I've bought all those now. So now I'm back into like buying the good few that, well, I got to buy like his old standards covers albums, which, you know, whatever. Like I've had them on CD and everything, but my record collecting is focused right now on completing catalogs.
Right.
Wow.
Because this is something you might not know about me, but I'm a completist.
You are a completist.
I
yeah.
am.
Well, it's funny.
You want to be able to spend some money on fun stuff like Taylor Swift and things like that, right?
Maybe.
you know.
For some people.
Hey, speaking of catalog crawls, if said listeners are interested in catalog crawls, they could go to Strange Currencies Music, right?
They
Crawl-
can't.
it sounds like a lot of work.
StrangeCurrencieSmusic.com.
StrangeCurrencies.music.com.
On the internet.
Do I have
on
to
the
crawl?
interwebs.
Do I have to do
you
any
don't
crawling?
have to crawl because Matt and staff have already done crawling for you.
Yeah. And Strange Currencies Music works on phones now too. So yeah, I mean, I think it always did. But
Dialed that in, huh? That technology.
you don't need dial up for
Are
it
you talking?
anymore.
Well,
What kind of catalog crawls are out there?
What
I mean,
kind of
obviously
phone are
there's
you
a Beach
talking about?
Boys.
there is a
catalog
Beach
crawl.
Boys one. It's our hit.
Yeah.
It's what's keeping the lights on in this studio.
It's big.
But
my
what
phone
else?
has a rotary dial on the front, so I don't
Stop.
understand how.
Tim, stop.
Doesn't work on those phones.
Huh.
Doofus.
I don't
No,
get it.
so what other catalog crawls? So I think our first one ever was on Guided by Voices, which is now really in need of an update because
Oh God.
I
How
did
many?
that like 2.5 years ago.
So
So,
there's been,
Bob
like,
Pollard has released
27 albums
50
since then?
albums
Right.
since then. Yeah. There's a Tom Waits one, which Tom Waits hasn't released anything since then.
man.
So get off your ass, Tom.
Come on, Tom.
They Might be Giants.
Okay.
That's a good one.
okay.
Playlist for that one is great. I really, really recommend it. Let's see. What else have we crawled through? PJ Harvey. There's others. REM.
Yeah. Go check it out, StrangeCurrenciesMusic.com.
Yeah, we got some new ones coming. John and Yoko is coming up before too long.
Okay.
And then a Bob Dylan one. Yeah.
That's some good stuff out
We're
there.
we're putting some new content out there on
right.
Strange.
All right.
2003 was a kind of a low year. Not low in the way that we use that word here on the podcast, but kind of a low year for Strange Currencies Music. Not readership wise, it was our best year yet, but just in terms of new content.
Hey, man, it's encyclopedic, man. That stuff never gets old.
Sure, I get that, but I was doing this whole debut album project thing, which was fun. It was a way to again focus my music listening and my record buying, like buying debuts and all that. But in doing that and making a daily social media post, I didn't have time to focus on writing articles hardly. So there were very few new articles in 23. But 24, I'm going to recommit to like putting some stuff out there, particularly these catalog crawls because people read them. Like they're like our
They're fun to go through.
thing. But you know what? I think some of those other contributors to Strange Currencies Music might need to get off their asses.
Seriously.
Like Tom Waits.
Seriously, they should get off their...
deliver some new content every
Right?
once in a while. Just saying is all.
I also have a touch tone phone
Yeah.
that makes beeps when you hit the buttons.
We work. The site works with those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Well, good.
It's kind of like movie phone.
Yeah.
If you call the number, I will just read the articles to you.
And can I write an article using the
it's
keypad?
$7.99 a minute.
Oh, jeez.
That's
a bargain.
Yeah, that's a really, really good deal.
$24? Yeah.
In this economy? Yeah.
That's right.
All right. Well, hey, that was fun. Let's take a little break, and we'll be right back to talk about what we're talking about this week.
Yeah.
All right, and we're back. So Tim noticed when I came back into the studio, I have a little surprise.
Uh-oh.
So I was upstairs and coming back down, ready, and my wife asked, "Hey, would you like to offer to your friends
Cookies?
I have
Oh.
a Tupperware that has both celery and carrots.
No, thank
in
you.
it."
Oh!
And
See, we never answered what our favorite vegetables were.
you
Wow.
didn't. Last week's show.
Wow.
I like very few.
So it's time for corrections, I guess.
Okay,
'cause
corrections.
We didn't actually get any answers
I'm adjusting
here.
my microphone so I can accept said vegetables.
Well, you guys
Hey,
have
look at
fun
me.
with that.
I'm Paul McCartney.
Yeah,
I'm
that's. I was
chomping
going to
on
say
a
that
carrot.
sounds like Paul McCartney.
Actually,
over there.
hold on. He was chomping
Wait, it
on
was the
celery.
celery, right.
Yeah.
Do you
I
have
don't
any?
really- I don't really love celery.
but it makes a good crisp sound.
Peanut butter with celery is fine, but
Do you have any like sautéed green beans or anything like that?
hold on.
They don't make very good
I'm
sounds.
doing my Paul McCartney impression.
Yeah.
Yeah, celery sucks.
Celery sucks. Oh man.
And raw carrots, I'm not a big
I got
fan
all
of
excited.
either.
I thought that maybe there was some hummus.
Well, hold on. If you jump up and down, I'll toss you a carrot. Anybody? Either?
No thanks.
No?
You're supposed to bring him in a big brown bag.
Are you Newman?
Vile weed.
Vile weed.
Well, I don't like broccoli.
we are talking about Smiley Smile,
I like carrots in like a slow cooked, like a pot roast situation.
of which
Do you like grilled, like barbecued grilled carrots?
y'all.
Oh, I never tried that.
Swimming in butter and
Well,
pepper.
I'm sure I would.
Yeah.
Enough of this buffoonery. Enough of this buffoonery. We are.
Am I really the only one who's going to eat any vegetables?
I might have some vegetables, which Brian Wilson claimed wasn't this the single? Wasn't this
Yeah,
the
he
single
wanted it to
for Smiley Smile that was released? Vegetables.
I don't know if it was actually. Because
heard-
Getting Hungry was released.
Oh, that's right. Getting hungry. Ooh.
And here's
we'll,
some
we'll
villains.
talk
Anyway.
specifics as we get going.
By
But
the way, like everything I read, Paul McCartney was there, and he did do some celery eating, but I don't think any of his contributions ever ended up on any recording that was released.
I'm not going to lie. The celery doesn't make that satisfying of a sound. Like, here. Actually, that's pretty
yeah,
good.
that's great.
The carrots, like,
And they use it very percussively in the recording. Like
if you
yeah.
put a little bit of reverb on the carrot, like, that sounds like a wood block.
yeah, that's good. I can see that.
oh my goodness.
All right.
So Smiley Smile.
Yes.
Contextually, we left
Actually,
on.
hold on really quick. Sorry, I got a mouthful of carrot here.
Oh my god.
Tim last week said that he never wanted to hear Smile referred to as a blank
A teenage
to blank.
symphony
No,
to God.
a blank
rhymes,
to blank.
Rhymes with
Bean.
weak-nage, timpani to,
Teenage
timpani.
timpani
to Zod.
to Zod.
or something.
So
Huzzah!
would you also say this week that you never want to hear this referred to as a bunt instead of a grand slam?
Oh, that's
Oy.
fine. I mean, that does pop up a lot. I think that was was it an Al or was that a Bruce?
I think it was a Carl.
It was a Dennis, I believe. Actually.
No, it was Carl.
Oh, was it?
I'm pretty sure it was Carl.
No, yeah, you're right. You're right.
Okay.
Say that again,
I-
Matt. What was that?
Oh, okay, fine. Glenn, you were right, but
Thank
you know
you.
what you were not right about? Hold on a minute. We were talking about catalog crawls a little bit ago, but there's also another feature that we have specialized and pioneered, I think, in Strange Currencies music, and that is the In the Wilderness.
In the wilderness.
It's called In the Wilderness.
In
In
the
the wilderness.
wildernesses.
In the wilderness.
Great feature. We haven't done those in a long time.
I was a great
it's in the-
admirer of
it's-
Miss Onassis's.
Yeah.
It's in the wilderness, but if we did 2 episodes of In the Wilderness.
Well, we have
So there were
several of those, but yes,
in
the
the
three of
wilderness.
us did 2 different wilderness features on the Beach Boys, which in a way are kind of like the precursor to
this
both the
podcast.
podcast and this specific podcast. And
Right.
that was the first time we were really engaging in deep conversation that
Right.
other people could hear about the Beach Boys.
Right.
And we did the first one, the first wilderness era we defined as 67 to 71, I think. So the post-Smile
Is
era.
that through 15 big ones?
No, that was the second one.
Oh, okay.
So we're talking
Holland or
Smiley
something.
Smile through Surf's Up.
Surf's Up, okay.
And I think we defined it that way because that's sort of like the last, Surf's Up was the last kind of closing of the door on the Smile era because the title track ends that album and there weren't any other like random Smile bits that came out after that really. In that, One Mr. Glenn
Yep, that would be me. Yep.
refers to Smiley
Yep.
Smile as, and I quote, trash.
Trash. Yes.
And
I stand by it.
no, you.
Well, hold on.
Get the fuck out of my studio if you stand by that.
Hold on. Here's my point. Okay. Here is my point. The reason I call Smiley Smile trash, we're talking about a wilderness era, right? And there's a reason we call it the wilderness because it's kind of like it's out there.
Well, it's in the weeds, yeah.
It's out in the weeds.
Yeah,
it's out, whatever. It's outside what most people conventionally accept or talk about or laugh at. You know what?
It's outside the peak.
Get to the fucking point.
My point was that we had this potential. We have these Smile tapes. We have this potentially incredible album that could have come out in 1967 and could have been glorious.
Yeah.
And it could have been this wonderful launching of Brian's creative energies. And instead, that gets scrapped. And instead, this gets put out.
Right.
And when you approach it with that in mind, and you listen to this as, womp womp.
Right.
Like,
that's how a lot of people reacted at the time.
That is it. And so in that respect, this album is trash.
It's not.
Yes, it is. If you
absolutely no. Stop.
If you compare this
no.
to BWPS, Brian Wilson presents Smile the way it should be. Now, having said that, I will eat a little bit of crow because I have this week I revisited Smiley Smile. Yes, having called it trash, but now having gone through this journey with y'all where we've listened to the good, the bad, the root beer, the county fair, I have gained a new appreciation for Smiley Smile this week. And I am able to now see it in a different light. Right. And maybe some of those perceptions will come out as we go. But since we're talking about the context here, this is Brian has shelved the Smile Sessions, all of its glory, because of all of the pressure and all of the paranoia, as it were. And he has retreated and said, I just want to do this where I feel safe in my home
my impression
with my
too
friends.
Is like similar to
and
Party.
Mike Love.
And Mike Love.
Similar to Party, I feel like this is him really not giving a shit anymore about expectations.
Correct. Right.
Just like
him saying, I don't care, let's just go.
Let's bring it back to my house,
Yep.
my home studio, and we'll just kind of...
And we'll just phone it in.
Have some fun.
Or bunt it. Or... I mean, I think that's why maybe Carl called it a bunt, because it's kind of like a cheap version of what was potential.
I want Matt to read what I said because I'm curious. Do I have any similar?
I don't even remember.
Okay, because I have in my notes I have something about it. So,
well, we can kind of come back to that. As
we'll rate it as we go.
Well, no, just means one thing.
All right, go on.
Yeah. So what I
have something I wanted to talk about.
Okay. Well, what I have written here is that it and this was my initial reaction, and I think a lot of the fans. It's hard not to hear this as just a bunch of fart noises. I said fart noises, not carrot noises. Because
you know what's trash?
Because
celery.
Because of what Glenn just said, but similar to Glenn. I've actually listened, since we really only covered one album this week, I listened to this over and over and over and over and over. And I grew to really like it. So anyway.
I do too. If you can appreciate what it is. And I think that's part of it. I think this is not, and maybe this is my problem, and maybe this is other Beach Boys fans, is this is seen as a replacement of Smile Sessions. And if instead of that, if we could see this almost as like an unplugged,
it's got to be its own thing,
you can't compare a separate thing. This is like another take on what it could have been. Then you see it differently. And again, Brian's been experimenting with different ways to put an album out, to compose an album, to communicate an album, to record an album. And he's dabbled with Party. And it's literally, he called them party tracks or party songs. There's this idea that we're sitting around kind of playing them live. And so he's like, what if we just did that with these complex compositions that we did? And that's what Smiley Smile is. It's like a lo-fi version of the Smile sessions just done in his living room with some like ham radio broadcasting equipment, like, you know, portable.
Not ham radio, but like a radio station.
Yeah, radio station equipment.
So I think that's one of the fascinating things. It's basically like a deliberate retreat.
Yeah.
Right? It's like him throwing the white flag up, like, I didn't finish Smile. Sergeant Pepper came out, so
he's not even credited as producing. I don't think.
Yeah,
it's credited as a band.
It's produced by the Beach Boys, exactly. And he basically says, you know, all right, fine, I didn't win that, and now I'm going to just sort of retreat into, as you said, you know, making music with my friends plus Mike Love, and but also Bruce was mostly not there, which I guess Brian's home studio didn't have a space big enough for Bruce's head. Perhaps
he didn't have headphones.
I don't know. Bruce,
he was but a humble millionaire. He didn't have the kind of money to get the headphones necessary for Bruce Johnson.
It can only extend so much.
We might need to do corrections there because I show Bruce Johnson credited with harmony backing.
Well, I'm not saying he wasn't there at all.
Bass guitar, Hammond organ.
What I see is that Bruce was mostly not around. And he may have come in a session and like put his fingerprints on little things here and there.
They still did overdubs.
But the idea that this was them all just kind of hanging out making music, I think Bruce was not there for a lot of that.
Okay.
Like his parts might have come in maybe sort of after the fact.
It's mostly the original Beatles, or Beach Boys.
Well, I mean, hey,
there's one Beatle.
There's a Beatle.
Yeah, that's my Paul impression. All right, I want to talk a little bit about this idea of a home studio in 1967 too. So, I mean, today, as I have here down in my basement, I've got a functional home studio where we make this here podcast and are royalty free to us music and everything. But yeah, they're operating on nowhere near what you would have had in a professional studio. Glenn used the word, the phrase lo-fi already. They're doing like bare bones stuff here. This is not equipment that was being utilized to record pop music, period, and certainly not in 1967. They had a very limited number of instruments on hand, for instance. Like they didn't have this just, oh, okay, we can walk into Western Studios, Gold Star, and, you know, call up, you know, whoever we want to.
Play the timpani. Yeah.
We've got what's on hand. And so it does sort of have that, as Glenn said, you know, party songs kind of feel to it.
This is where they use the swimming pool and stuff like that for some of the reverb.
Yeah.
And the shower, I guess, was used.
Yep. So one of the notes that I have here is that it's kind of like this idea that if the studio was being used as an instrument previously, like for Pet Sounds and, you know, all of that other stuff from the era as, you know, I don't know, really kind of starting with today and moving in through Dias de Verano y también sus noches!
I still don't speak Spanish.
That, you know, if he's using the studio as an instrument during that time, now he's using his house as an instrument.
Yeah. Right.
And one of the things that I think is like that key to really understanding and loving Smiley Smile is think of it as this is Brian's realm. This is his safe space. This is his home where he's making this music, and he's like inviting you into that. Aww. And he is, you know, like, all right, we're going to go down to the pool, which apparently they didn't intentionally drain it. It had a crack in it, so it just sort of drained all out. And they're like, all right, well, we can use that to take the place of an echo chamber. And we can use the shower instead of an isolation booth. And we're just going to use what we have here in the home studio. But it was very, very rudimentary. I think there's this notion of like you walk in and there's like literally a studio in his basement, and they got, you know, the glass separating the control room with the live room, and everything. It's not. They're like in his house just fucking around and making fun, offbeat, low-key versions of these great songs that he had written for the previous album. And there's something really, cool about that.
Yeah.
And there's also something really influential about that as well, too.
Well, apparently.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about that as we get into, you know, the legacy of this record. But I don't know. I think if you are struggling to, as I once did, yes, get into that idea of, all right, this is the bunt instead of the grand slam. We could have had Smile, but we get this. Find that other different level of the way to approach this.
And even if it means skipping over heroes and villains and veg-e-tables, honestly, because
No,
you mean Good
starting-
Vibrations?
Yeah,
well,
yes.
that too, but
So no, see, that's what I think it is. I think if you skip over Heroes and Villains and Good Vibrations and listen to Smiley Smile without those, and in fact, I even and we'll talk
and just don't
specific
think
of them.
about because like you have to
Exactly.
go song by song, appreciate each one for what it is,
Correct.
and not compare anything to Smile. Really,
and
those two songs though, they immediately remind you like, oh, this could have been so much better.
right,
Yeah.
and also I think we are at the disadvantage of maybe being nerds and have knowing all the backstories that we have that baggage that we're going to bring into it, and we're like, oh, this is or maybe this is just what they crapped out to get the record label off their back. Poor Carl's head's not in it. He's being tracked down by army recruits. Right? I mean, hasn't he drafted at this point?
Well, I think so. I think he was arrested also, wasn't he, at some point for?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if he was arrested, but yeah, he ended up.
But that's right around this
being able
time,
to declare
isn't it?
conscientious objector status. Yeah.
So like all of that is going on right now, and
he was arrested. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, he got arrested. He had to post bail,
yeah,
and
you're right. You're right.
There's a lot of like heavy stuff going on right now. And
but out of context, you kind of have to take it out of context. I say veg-e-tables too because I think probably because I heard Smile first, the 2004 Smile, and I associate it with that. So that's those three are really the ones that are strongly connected to Smile for me. So.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, let's take a quick break. Unless you had any other context.
Nope.
All right. Well, let's take a quick break, and we're going to come back and talk about the A side of Smiley Smile.
All right, we're back talking to the A side of Smiley Smile, and right off the bat, we have Heroes and Villains.
It's pretty good,
and we're hit with this incredible composition.
And this is the 3.5 minute version because the one that's on the sessions is like 4:50, but this is shorter, so this must be the single.
I tried.
Yeah.
I tried A-Bing these. I tried putting the longer version next to this one, and I got lost trying to compare them.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Well, the Cantina section is in the
in
the now canon version of the Smile sessions.
Wasn't on there.
Yeah, and so that also means what else is added to it? You're under arrest.
Oh, that's added to it?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the now canon version.
Oh, okay. Is that in this version?
It's not in this one.
not.
No.
Okay.
And it disappoints me every time.
Yeah.
But this version, we've talked about Heroes and Villains. This is there's all kinds of studio work here, which does seem slightly counter to the spirit of Smiley Smile as this home party.
Yes and no. If I remember correctly, though, there are some kind of lo-fi elements. One of the things that they really kind of felt like Heroes and Villains didn't succeed as a single is they went with a re-recorded version that took out a lot of the complexity of the original. So they kept some of the backing tracks from the Smile sessions, but they re-recorded a lot of the the vocals and other pieces, and which was, I think they only did that on a couple of things because Brian had basically declared all of the Smile session tapes off limits for this. But yeah, I think one of the things that they really kind of said is Heroes and Villains didn't perform as well in the charts as we wanted it to, and we attribute a lot of that to the fact that it was just not the best quality recording of it possible.
I got into the weeds a little bit, like rabbit hole I alluded to last time, checking out different fan takes and fan versions, and I came across this one version of Smiley Smile with Heroes and Villains out and Good Vibrations out, and replaced with one of those Smile Sessions versions, an earlier session, and I think that same one of Good Vibrations, and an earlier version of Heroes and Villains that sounded more lo-fi, like cobbled together. It didn't have that same kind of finished polish. It had more of that kind of party vibe to it, and it was cool. I liked it.
They didn't stand out so much because when Good Vibrations comes on this one, it's like, ugh.
Yeah, they're totally
so much.
totally stands
better,
out.
yeah.
Right.
I'll make a little bit of a defense, I guess, in the sense that if you're listening to it on vinyl, both of them are at the beginning of their respective sides.
Yeah.
Because I could definitely see if Little Pad just goes right into Good Vibrations, that would be jarring. But it's almost kind of like, all right, here's the major statement on the A side, or the first track on each of the sides, and then we're just going to kind of fuck around. And it does sort of, it's almost like it's a compromise, rather than just being this thing of minor little pieces.
And it's better than stacking it so those two songs are like the first two, and then everything else is like this. Like I do like this sort of like there's another peak there at the beginning of side two.
Yeah. One could argue maybe would it have been more effective if they had just held off Good Vibrations until the last track.
Yeah.
And that they were bookends. But hearing it on vinyl, I think maybe makes a little bit more sense than listening to it on Spotify or something, just because they are side openers.
Right.
And let's be honest, a lot of people who bought this record were probably inclined to listen to the side openers and like, all right, now I'm going to shut off mine,
Yeah.
But, whatever.
But good. Good song.
Great song. Yeah, in any version that you find it, Heroes and Villains is just a classic.
Yeah.
So good.
So track 2 is vegetables / veg-e-tables. Vegetables. Oh, there's one.
Hey, it's not me this time. Celery, celery's trash.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. I was trying to make.
If you take the peanut butter out of it, it's useless.
Yeah, that's
It's just
true.
a delivery device.
It doesn't.
Peanut butter.
It doesn't really.
I think this is old celery.
This is old celery too.
You might have got a bad piece
It's
because
not as crisp.
Yeah, he's got
Oh,
some
wow,
crispy
that is a
stuff
good-
over there.
Yep.
He kept all the good ones for himself.
no, you pulled that one out of there.
There you go.
Oh, that one's better.
So this version I like this version of vegetables.
I do too.
I just think I hate that it omits the candy bar line, but it's still great.
Threw away the candy bar. And
But I ate the wrapper, and when you told me what I'd done, I burst out with laughter, something like that.
Burst into laughter. Yeah.
Into laughter.
So is this a parody?
has the-
Is this a parody of like health food movements, or
I
is
don't think it's a parody.
is Brian genuine?
He said something. Oh, there was some quote about like I wanted to, tell people the benefits of vegetables, but I wanted to do it in like a silly way, so it was more like relatable or something like that, or easier to digest. But like, I don't think he wasn't like, yeah. I don't think he was parodying or being satirical. He was just like trying to be because humor was a big part of his
sure,
thought
but
process
isn't
at
he?
this point.
Isn't he like eating sandwiches at this point? Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
in the
What
tent?
else are you gonna do? In
Like
the
I
tent?
said, and he's reading a lot of metaphysical stuff.
Okay.
And like learning about, like theoretically how to take care of yourself.
Well, see, that's the
but
other
not really
thing that
doing
like
it.
it's hard to tell like how much of this to take seriously.
Yeah.
And that's kind of part of the maybe the humor of this is that is kind of
the irony.
The irony or maybe the intent behind Smile in general is that this was supposed to be kind of that not taking itself too seriously.
Yeah, but I think there was a sincerity in his, in singing about vegetables.
Right.
Like, yeah, I don't think he was like making fun of a health food craze.
No,
it wasn't really
Uh-uh.
full on yet.
Ladies and gentlemen, only here on Talking Down the Highway are you going to get deep analysis of what was
philosophical
Brian
analysis of
really
vegetables.
meaning when he said, "Tell me the name of your favorite vegetable."
Yeah.
Vegetable.
I always just like imagined it as
Vegetable.
here's a song I'm going to make so like parents can convince their kids to eat vegetables because eating vegetables is cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been singing vegetables all week.
Look
so.
at me, I'm fucking eating celery. Like if I don't have again either peanut butter or like some wings right there, celery's useless. But here I'm
Seriously,
eating it.
I need some blue cheese.
All right. Yeah, vegetables. Great. Great. Fall breaks and back to winter, also known as the Woody Woodpecker Symphony.
Also known as the W. Woodpecker Symphony.
Oh, that's
actually.
right. Yes. Copyright infringement.
I guess.
He was not public domain yet, I guess.
Yeah. So this is basically a section of the elements fire, and then with that little kind of, which somebody, Anderley or somebody talked about that being accordion, and I think it sounds more like melodica. But then I listened with headphones or earbuds, and there's a second reed instrument in there that's a little lower. I think that might be melodica.
When I saw the list of instruments that they were using, melodica was definitely on there, and that tracks with the home studio.
Yeah, it does.
A little handheld.
So maybe they were both melodica, but there's like a lower and a higher part. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. It's fine. It's not like. I mean, if I'm gonna hurry, I'll skip this one. But
it doesn't have the same like intensity
right.
as the Fire.
It's a chill version of it, yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Which tracks with Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at all of the Smile songs that are on here, and there's several, none of them have that same depth or, as you say, on this one, intensity. But the basic structure of the song is still there. It's still it works.
Yeah, it's less scary.
Yeah, no, it sort of recasts as sort of goofy.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's good.
She's Going Bald is the next one, which I know I think in the Wilderness I probably said this is my favorite one. I do like this one a lot.
You even chose it for the playlist.
Oh yeah, that's right. I do like this one a lot. This is based on something called He Gives Speeches from Smile, like an unused Smile song. I do still like it. Like it has that where the tape speeds up. It's actually
that is interesting.
It was a special tool. They call it. It's the Eltro Information Rate Changer, because I guess what the whole deal was that it
changes the
pitch without the speed, without changing the speed. So that's a little goofy, and then it gets she dragged a comb across her head. That part reminds me of the Monkees, like something off of Head, which would be the following year.
See, this song gives Mike Love to me.
It does. There's a lot of Mike Love. But there's a funny quote from Brian about Mike wrote the lyrics and it didn't occur to us that he was going bald. So we don't know if he thought it was writing about
how would it have
himself
not occurred to them?
Yeah.
Clearly the man had very, very little hair.
Ooh, maybe I need to revisit this now. And, picturing Mike, maybe I will like this song more.
Maybe, but then you have the Dennis take, which is that he thought it was about getting a blowjob, which makes sense. Right. You're seeing the top of the head, and then there's the whole I blew my mind, I blew my cool, and then just the kind of there's like an oh kind of thing, and then what a blow. So I can see why he thought that. There's all kinds. There's layers.
But I actually, I used to hate it, but it's grown on me because again, it just it's in the spirit of the whole thing.
And I do like just the there's something, and I don't know. It feels like there's an effect on their vocals too, like kind of a warbliness to it that I like. So yeah, I give it a thumbs up.
All the melodies. I mean, even this one, when they get into that melody, it's like that He Gives Speeches. It's one of the really good unused pieces of Smile. That and You're Welcome.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Those are both pieces that never, ended up making it into any of the, canon mixes. The Brian Wilson version or the I mean, it's in the sessions box, but it's not on the album run of it. They're both good.
Yeah.
All right. And then the last song on the A side,
Little Pad.
Do it.
That's how it starts. I love that. Yeah. And then they all start laughing.
Love it.
Yeah, me too.
It has so grown on me. I think there was a point where it's like, what? But it's so good. It's so cozy.
Yeah, exactly. It's very warm and fuzzy, I think. And that this is, I'm going to point out these weird, like sort of very tenuous connections to people who may have been influenced by this. The do 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 is very Harry Nilsson, and he would break out the next year with Pandemonium Shadow Show.
Yeah, I can see that.
But it sounds more like something from The Point, but still. But yeah, it's very chill, very nice. I like it too.
It really reminds me a lot of the album cover. Which wait a minute, sounds like it's time for an episode of Sound and Vision. Sound and Vision, where we discuss all things aesthetic using the scale provided to us by David Bowie. Glenn, if we really like something, we call it a...
Low.
That's right, David Bowie's masterpiece. Tim, if we don't like something, we call it a...
Please, David, never let me down.
Yeah, in which David Bowie definitely let us down.
Why?
Yeah, David. And if it's in the middle, it's comfortable middle ground. We just call it Let's Dance. David Bowie's okayest album. Yeah. All right. Smiley Smile is what we're talking about here.
Looks oddly familiar.
Speaking of coziness. Yeah.
It's cozy. It's familiar.
You know what? I just realized they stole this from us.
Oh my God.
Those bastards.
They went into the future.
You know that
stole
thing
our podcast logo.
You know that thing where they could manipulate the speed of the rate of their voices without changing time? Clearly, they had some fucking sorcery that they're working with.
Right.
They're able to manipulate time. We've now found out because they moved into the future, stole the header image or cover image for our podcast, and then recast it.
They
as
took
an
our
album
faces
from
out.
They took our faces out. Come on,
man!
Like I am inclined to give it a never let me down because of that.
I smell a lawsuit coming.
Mike.
Yeah, coming for you.
You better lawyer up.
Now we're gonna.
Who are we kidding? He's got a lawyer, like a team of lawyers on retainer, I'm sure. But
this is a great cover, I think.
It is.
Like the very stoned animals.
That's why we made it. Right?
Yeah. Well, yes. All those animals are high as fuck.
I know. You stole my line. When we first put it out there, I said that elephant was high as fuck because he totally fucking is.
Yeah.
And then I made a triple level meme.
I've been holding off on it.
Well, I just don't know because you guys seem like I don't know if anybody's going to understand it. All those animals look sufficiently, whatever.
I'm going to post it this week because I was waiting until we talked about this album.
Can I explain a little?
Yes.
Okay. So you got that little you got the cheetah, the leopard, whatever it is. He's just like peeking out. Dude's like, I'm intrigued. Whatever's happening here, it's got my curiosity is piqued. Like I'm looking through the foliage here, and that's cool. Then your next level is the giraffe, and the giraffe is fucking grooving. He's just like, yeah, this is good. Life is fine. I can get to this.
Are you saying the giraffe is Dennis?
Maybe.
Okay.
And then you go over to the other side, and that elephant is blissed out high as fuck. Stoned out of his fucking gourd. He's loving it.
Yeah.
So that's what the meme means.
He's doing like an elephant noise, I think, too.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
He is fucking loving it.
So this is like one of those, it's like a multi-level building up. Is it like the, what's his name?
Drake?
WWE. Okay, the Drake. Or I'm thinking of, what's his name?
Oh, yeah.
He falls out of his chair.
Vince McMahon.
McMahon,
yeah. And then just, there's some other animals, but who cares? I didn't know this. We were just talking about this before the show, but I never actually realized that this is the Smile Shop.
Yeah.
Way
in the
this
background.
Cozy little house there that I thought was just this little cabin, this little pad, if you will. But it's apparently the Smile Shop.
Yeah.
I always imagined that the Smile Shop had like a flat roof, but nope. Here we are. It's a little,
and it's got a chimney
kind of thing with
and
a little chimney.
And the smoke coming out is the song, the album title.
It's done by the same artist?
I think so.
Holmes, it is.
It's a totally different style.
Well, at least, yeah.
Well, what I specifically read is that is still Holmes's Smile Shop, but then in an overgrown jungle. So I wasn't really clear on if he did the rest of the artwork or not, but maybe.
And coming out of the chimney is all that smoke from the sandwiches because they were toasted sandwiches.
Toasted
out of the tent.
Yeah.
And you know what, gentlemen? It's a fucking low.
Yeah, it's a low.
Yep.
Here we are, 4 weeks in a row. Really? 4 weeks in a row, we've given lows.
Wow.
Yeah. Because they have hit a groove.
Yeah.
Musically
Well,
and artistically, like visual art.
They're kind of in a good era for album covers in the sense that starting with Smile, I guess, they're actually using artwork and things like that for their album covers. The next one is a pane from a
we're not there.
whatever stained glass window.
And then the one after that, we're not there yet.
Right, but I'm saying pictures of the boys are fine, or like collages are fine, but I don't know. I just like when it's like a piece of artwork as the cover.
Well, and they're good pieces of artwork
They are.
too. And so we got 4 in a row because we gave Pet Sounds a low because it is, and we gave that crazy little promo video. We gave that a low.
That's right.
And Smile, and now Smiley Smile. So that's 4 in a row, boys.
Wow, okay, all right. We're feeling it. We're feeling low.
Their visual art is coming along
On point. Yeah.
Good job. Visually, I think they're in a good era, except for that weird balding grandpa that is always hanging around. But
Yeah.
other than that,
He must be inside the style
aesthetically,
shop,
they got
style
things
shop.
figured out.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe that guy with the huge head too. Yeah. All right, I think we're due for a break.
Yes.
Yeah, so let's take a quick break here.
Okay.
Come back and talk about the B-side.
Hi, we're back. I'm the only one without celery in his mouth.
I had a carrot.
This is Talking Down the Highway.
back.
We're
Little
talking
strings
about
of celery.
Smiley Smile. Now we're on side 2, which opens with Good Vibrations, which we've already mentioned.
Can I air a grievance here? I copied and pasted the tracks and track credits from Rate Your Music.
Oh, okay.
And under Good Vibrations, the only track credit it has listed is Mike Love as songwriter.
It's the only one that
Yeah.
if you highlight over it, that it shows specifics.
I had a
because
hard time.
People just haven't filled it in.
Well, and like on Wikipedia, like you go to the track listing for this album and you click on the individual songs, and it's going to take you to the article about Good Vibrations, every iteration of it, or Heroes and Villains.
Right,
so
right,
it's
right.
tough sometimes to nail
Not
down
just
the
what
personnel.
the Smiley
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
If you look at the credits, on RYM, it's got all of these people,
Yeah.
like Carol Kay and Tommy Morgan, people that we've talked about before, but they're on 2 songs, one song really.
Yeah.
And it's this one, Good
Yay!
Vibrations,
And we've-
same version we've already heard before. So
We've talked a lot about it.
It was
already.
great. It's
Yeah.
still great.
So
Move
great.
on.
Move on.
Right.
With Me Tonight is the next one, and this is similar to Little Pad, and it's just like a cool, chill, catchy thing that is soothing to listen to. I like this one a lot.
Yeah.
And it's you know what my rating of this is good because there's that background voice.
Oh, yeah.
I love that part. I love that part.
It's it's a friend of Brian's in the control room. Like they did their little intro part, and then at one point he's like, "Good,
Good.
and you can hear it very clearly,
Super clear.
But they
That's
left it in
great.
there
Yeah.
intentionally because they thought it was funny. Or
Yeah,
whatever,
that's great.
Which I agree.
Love it.
Carl sings lead on that one. Next, Wind Chimes.
Lovely.
Different version from what would end up on the sessions.
But
and,
still,
So you say lovely. I mean, all right, the composition of the song is
yeah,
lovely, but this version,
it's kind of dark.
yeah, it's creepy.
It's creepy.
I like it.
I do too. This is another thing that reminded me of something that came later, which was Alice Cooper, "Welcome to My Nightmare." Like there's parts of one song in particular, I forget one, where he kind of has this whispery, like almost like he's speaking in a character voice, which is, what is the line here? Close your eyes and lean back or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it does get a little spooky, which is surprising to me. I don't know if you saw the part where this album was allegedly used to bring people down from bad LSD trips.
Yep.
I don't buy that for a second.
No.
Because there's some stuff in
is
here that would be
creepy.
very
Yeah.
jarring and just generally creepy and scary. But that was a claim by Mike Love, but it was also echoed by Carl. He said that the place that did that, the drug treatment center, was in Fort Worth, Texas. So maybe it's true, but I don't think it would be a very good way to bring someone out of a bad acid trip.
Let's be honest. There's a lot of bad medical practices
Yeah,
and
that's true.
psychological practices that are involved surrounding the Beach Boys. So let's just say maybe that wasn't a good choice.
Right. And a big part of the reason I say that too is because this version of Wind Chimes, it has this really like drawn out, slow kind of fade out. Like it's completely silent. And then Getting Hungry starts. And it would just be like you jump out of your skin if you were on bad acid, I would think.
One would think. I just think the composition itself, the melody is lovely,
Yeah.
and it's yes, it's darker, it's sparse, and it's maybe verges on creepy, but I as I've gone back and approached this as a lo-fi album, I appreciate it.
Yeah, totally.
I think the first few times I heard, this and one that we're going to get to in just a minute, I was like, oh, they ruined them. But no,
Right.
I think now I love them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not as much as the Smile versions, but
Right,
but
right.
in a different way. That
In a
is,
different way.
That is also
Yes,
very
there it is.
satisfying.
Different way. And again, if you can view this kind of as an unplugged version or as a party version or a different medium of art. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things really I think to take away that makes Smiley Smile more enjoyable is don't listen to it like it's the component pieces. Listen to it as its own full thing.
As a piece of art.
Which is a little bit tough, again, when you have Heroes and Villains and Good Vibrations on there. But if you take it not as, oh, now I'm going to listen to wind chimes and now I'm going to listen to... But if you just think this album is there to sustain this vibe over the course of all of 27 minutes... It does a really good job of that.
Which I would argue,
homespun, lo-fi.
Which I would argue is done better if you can replace Good Vibrations and Heroes and Villains.
I get it. I was going to say, like, I still think. I mean, I got to appreciate it by really thinking about the tracks individually. But I know what you're saying because it does. Aside from those two, it does have a pretty consistent vibe. As a complete work. But I think it's also easy to write off as just like a hodgepodge of weird whatever bits and pieces. But then, like, listening to full songs, I think will suck you in, if anything, if you listen closely.
Yeah. All right. Getting hungry?
Getting hungry.
Okay.
I actually like this one a lot, but it's very weird. The reason, because the actual organ sound, I think, is really cool. It's got that,
I love the music. I hate the Mike Love. It feels
He's the man we love to hate.
Well, and this is...
Hey, wait a minute. Sounds like it's time for an episode of Heroes and Villains. That's right. It's time for Heroes and Villains. We're discussing heroes and villains, whatever it is we happen to be talking about this week. Yeah, you thought we were going to get away with not doing an episode of Heroes and Villains on the album that it actually appears on, finally? Nope. All right, heroes, villains, what do we got?
Hero, Mike Love for writing a song about getting a blowjob. No, wait.
No.
Maybe not.
Hero.
Honestly,
Paul McCartney.
Yeah, Celery.
Sure.
Well,
wait, no.
Celery was going to be one of my villains, but Paul McCartney for showing up at Brian's house, like knocking on the door. Hello, Brian. Brian, I was wondering if you had any celery. Yes,
I'm a vegetarian,
Help us.
Wow, that was brutal.
It's Paul
honestly,
McCartney.
I'm going to say Carl is a hero here for sure. He sings a lot of these songs really well. Brian, of
Heroes
course.
and Villains and Good Vibrations as well too. Like they're on here, and those are leads.
But Brian for saying I'm gonna put something together.
Actually, I'm immediately going to correct myself. I think Brian was the lead on the verses of Heroes and Villains because in the live performances, Al's singing it.
They it kind of bounces around. I think,
but still,
he is
Carl's
Good Vibrations, and he's several others. He does. We'll talk about Wonderful in a second. But Brian also for finally kind of shaking off the Smile stuff and just being able to move forward, doing it with a whole different approach,
fighting those demons.
Yeah.
Way to beat them.
Yeah.
Permanent. Well, okay, maybe not. Yeah. All right, villain.
He's going bald. Yeah, Mike.
I mean, Mike's always a villain. I don't know of a specific reason on this album
for getting hungry and
I know why he's a villain. I got it actually. He clearly was not originally invited to this, but he found out via one of the other guys how to get to Brian's house, and he just happened to show up on the door. And he's like, and Brian's like, "Oh, I was expecting Paul McCartney to come over," and so Brian opens up the door and is like, "Hey guys, I'm ready to record," and he's like, got a 6-pack of fucking root beer.
I think, I think we can just go ahead and say that that's
they're like,
canon.
"Oh, the fucking narc's here."
That's canon. It really happened. Yeah, it's a fact. Don't fact check us.
Yeah. So Mike, still the villain.
Yeah, and maybe Woody Woodpecker too for refusing.
No, it's W. Woodpecker.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying, for refusing to allow his name to be used.
On
this
fair enough.
album.
All right. Oh, another hero though. That elephant. Fucking just
brave.
Yeah. Displaying that level of highness on an album cover in 1967.
That's good.
Way to be out there, man. That's good. All right. Great episode.
Yes.
So Getting Hungry, it's fine. It's probably my least favorite.
It's hilarious that this was one of the singles, but it's also weird that
Why did this album fail?
The single was credited to the Beach Boys, Brian Wilson and Mike Love.
Yeah.
The other guys, I think, sing on it too. But anyway,
like it.
I love the organ sound. They had this
Dopey.
3-tiered Baldwin, right?
Yeah, Baldwin Theater organ, which is I don't really know if this one had actual pipes or if it was electronic, but those kind of organs were around.
I don't know, but I will say that this kind of got me, because I do dig the music of it.
Yeah.
This got me kind of down a rabbit hole with late in Hawaii, because the live album that was supposed to follow this was a 2-day kind of recording stint in Hawaii where Brian actually went and traveled with them,
right.
and Brian played this Baldwin organ.
Oh, they took
and
the
so
organ.
Yeah, so there's all these kind of different
They might have
arrangements.
just found one in Hawaii.
Well, probably, but point being, Carl's playing bass on all the songs, and Brian's playing this organ.
Well,
look
Carl
that up
apparently plays a lot of the bass on the album as well.
So it's just kind of
going
an
through a
interesting
phase.
It's an interesting.
We've all
version
been
of-
there. We've all been like, I'm feeling really not confident about myself right now. Maybe all I can really aspire to in life is to be a bass player.
Hey, screw you.
Okay, yeah. I think we can strike that from the
Yeah,
record.
strike that.
Wonderful.
It is wonderful.
No, it's not wonderful. What you
It's
said about
wonderful.
bass players is not wonderful. Yeah, wonderful. So it's so radically different from what would end up coming out of the Smile sessions,
Right.
But
But it's still wonderful.
in its own.
and this
right.
is Carl. He's like whispering it.
Yeah,
it's kind of insane.
quirky and like
Again, it's kind of creepy.
It is, and so of course the first version I heard was Brian with the harpsichord. Probably the 2004 version, which is quite a bit different. Really great song, and so upon first listen, hearing this, I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Well, you hear it even with not the Brian Wilson Presents Smile, but the eventual Beach Boys released,
the
Sessions one with the yodeling and stuff in the background. It's just so rich and lovely and everything. And this is, deliberately low key, but it's still just a great
just
piece of music.
on its own level. Yeah, just appreciating it for what it is. It's pretty great.
Love it. All right. All right. Whistling.
It's
just a little coda.
Yeah, it's just a kind of a chant. I like it.
Yeah.
You can sing along.
It does what it needs to do.
Yeah.
Ends a low key album on a low key note, and it's fucking great.
Yep.
All right. Well, I want to keep us moving along because we are, now that we've got through the two big ones, trying to get ourselves back into keeping things in about an hour or so. So let's talk a little bit about the reaction to this. Short-term reaction is what?
Well,
basically what Glenn said. Yeah.
I have a. I'm gonna retreat or backtrack on my trash.
Well, you better, but still
reaction, because my initial reaction was that this is trash. This is like, a replacement of what could have been.
And I think the first time probably anybody hears it, especially knowing the legend of Smile, and as people in 1967 had been anticipating, and Derek Taylor's like, yeah, it's going to be out any day now, and then a week later it's like, no, it doesn't fucking, what are you talking about, Smile?
Yeah.
Right? So people were expecting something very different, and they get this, and I absolutely understand the first few times you hear this record, this is really disappointing. It's kind of...
And is it disappointing because you're like, this is weird? Like, what is this? These aren't even really songs.
Well, there's definitely songs, but they are weird too.
Funny thing that is mentioned in the wiki a couple times is that, clearly Smile wasn't shelved because it was quote unquote too weird, because this is way weirder than Smile.
This is way weirder than Smile, right?
Yeah.
And that's the point. It's just really stripped down, and it's beyond that. And so I think that's why, there's a maybe it's a little murky as to what that reaction was. I found this Mike Love wrote about Smiley Smile, his reaction. Are you ready for this?
Go ahead.
Mike Love, regarding Smiley Smile. Some of the songs we recorded could barely be called songs. They were chants, spacey fragments, weird sound effects. Every group produces at least one bad album. I don't think Brian wanted to be associated with it either.
Well,
so Mike hated it.
This group will produce plenty of bad albums, and this is not one of them.
Mike hated it. I changed my rating. I love it now.
Yeah. Oh, it's great.
I love it because Mike hated it.
Well, you should love it because it's great, but it's an album that you have to settle in with. You have to live with it a bit. You've got to recalibrate your expectation. You have to give it time and patience, and I've had to do that, and I love it. But it was like, first time I heard it, I was like, whatever.
Right.
For a while I was like, all right, I got to be like, oh, it's pretty good. Now I love it. But it took a long time to get there. And you think about what is the pop landscape like in 1967 when it comes out? You got records that you don't need that time with. You've got Sgt. Pepper. And
this
you've
isn't
got
a pop album in
The
that
Who
sense.
Sell Out. And you've got Something Else by the Kinks. And all this great stuff that's coming
Catchy.
out left and right. And it's like, oh, an album I got to spend a lot of time with and invest time in to really get it? Nah, whatever. I'm going to listen to it my couple times and move on to the next thing. And, so yeah, I get why the reaction to it in real time was muted and disappointed and all of that. But it's become something else.
Yeah,
it has taken on a totally different life to where
it's ahead of its time. It's lo-fi in a way that was not acceptable at the time, but has become more in vogue now. Even
it creates a totally new template for how pop albums can get made. I mean, McCartney, Ram, home recorded records, right? That are both freaking Ram especially
Ram's
great.
Yeah.
Lots of found sounds, lots of samples, lots of that party atmosphere.
They might be giants first couple records.
Yeah.
Are you going to tell me that this didn't somehow create a template for those first two TMBG albums? I mean, it's right there. Yeah. It's in the blueprint. Just the goofy, offbeat, kind of creepy, homespun. It's all over that. I mean, you don't have to look far at all online to see like Animal Collective and all these other different things. And yeah, it's in that. And it's become this touchstone kind of a record that in its smallness and in its quote unquote failure, maybe it's become something bigger, better than what success would have meant for it. Because it would have just been, this is another pretty good Beach Boys album.
Yeah.
But now it's become this new template.
Right. I mean,
a great template.
Yeah. Like, I guess there's something about, I'm trying to think of like organically someone who hated it when it first came out and they were alive when it first came out, if it grows on you, or if this is the kind of thing where a whole different generation just sort of discovered it in the trash.
Yeah.
And
with different context.
Yeah, different context. And started to appreciate it from the start.
Yeah. Huh. I think there were definitely people who appreciated it from the start, but they were not in the majority.
Yeah.
Are we going to rate this thing or what?
Yeah, we're totally going to rate it. It's a Dennis.
Ooh, a Dennis.
Easy Dennis.
Wow.
It's a Dennis.
That was my first instinct too, but I was kind of not sure to go if it was a Carl or a Dennis, because I do like to kind of think ahead, and like you've already done 2 Brians.
Yeah.
And I thought I was only going to be doing 1 Brian, but maybe not.
I've done a full catalog crawl in recency, so I've got some calibration, I guess, that I've done recently. It's a Dennis.
Okay.
For me.
I'm going to give it a Carl.
Oh, so we're switching Carl to the second best one? Okay.
I'm giving it a Carl with the acknowledgement that it might become a Dennis.
Giving it a hot Carl.
I'm giving it a hot Carl.
I'll give it a Dennis. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It's a spicy Carl.
We win, Tim. We win.
All right, fine. It's a great album. It's good. It's good.
So good.
Yeah.
I love it.
It has good vibrations and heroes and villains on it. Come on.
Yeah. That's almost like cheating, though. Let's put these 2 great ones on.
Right. Well,
all right. Hey, let's take one more quick break and we'll come back to wrap it all up. All right. Great episode.
When you think about... Oh, sorry.
Are we going to do Late in Hawaii next?
I don't know.
Okay, all right.
I think next up we're going to do Wild Honey. So
Wild Honey.
Any of you
next.
expecting Late in Hawaii? Sorry. Probably not going to do that.
I'll touch on it. I'll touch on it for context.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, so we'll be back next week to talk about Wild Honey, the second 1967 record. In the meantime, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Subscribe. Check us out on Instagram at Talkin' Beach Boys and Strange Currencies Music.
Call your
Go to
grandma.
strangecurrenciesmusic.com and read all that great content. Hey, it's been a blast talking about great album, Smiley Smile. But we'll catch you next time.
Later.
For Talking Down the Highway, I'm Matt.
I'm Glenn.
Bye-bye. I'm Tim.